Fathers Who Bother is made possible in part by the contributions of listeners like you. To support Fathers Who Bother, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fathers Who Bother and become a monthly subscriber today. On the next episode of Fathers Who Bother, I talked to actor and singer Tristan Mack Wilds about having a daughter with his high school sweetheart, being raised by a neighborhood hero, the best parenting advice he's gotten, and whether you should throw cheese at your baby to stop their crying. Welcome to Fathers Who Bother, a podcast for men who are dad as we want to be. My next guest is an actor, singer, songwriter hailing from the island of Shaolin. Some of you may know him for his roles on iconic TV shows like HBO's The Wire, CW's 90210, VH1's The Breaks, and Fox's Shots Fired. Others may know him for his theatrical work in The Secret Life of Bees, Red Tails, and more. Music fans may know him for his Grammy-nominated debut album, New York, A Love Story, still one of my favorites, and the sensual follow-up, After Hours. This fall, he'll be joining a stellar cast in the stage play Thoughts of a Colored Man, but today, we're going to talk about his favorite role as father. Please welcome Tristan Mack Wilds to the podcast, everybody. How you doing, man? How you look well? You got like an 8K camera going on. You got the clearest picture I've seen of anybody on Zoom. What kind of futuristic robotic?
I don't know. This is just the phone. Thank God.
Word?
Yeah,
man. Is that the new Apple 25?
You know, I've been. You know, I had me and Steve Jobs. Me and him was cool before he passed, and he gave me the keys, so I'm able to go in and yeah.
Clearly he hooked you up, bro. Because for people who are gonna see this, his vision is clear. He is sharp right now, man.
Yeah.
Nah, that's good, man. I'm so happy. Congratulations on the baby, the marriage, everything. Like there's so much. You are blessed, brother. How have you all been doing with just in general? I try to check in on people because this year has been hard for everybody, with the quarantine and particularly parents. Bruh, you had a new baby during quarantine. How did you two manage, yo?
So we had Tristan like the December right before quarantine happened.
Right.
And I just remember, it felt like going into 2020, it was just like, everything's going to be great. We just had the baby. Life is great. Everything is good. February hit. Yeah. It was a wrap. Yeah. Everything was a wrap.
Right.
So we just had to manage. To answer your question, we're doing really good, man. I've seen the quarantine kind of pull a lot of families apart. I've seen it kind of show true colors in a lot of people. But for us in particular, it gave us time to really sit back and really relearn each other. Me and Christina have been together since we were about 15 years old, on and off since we were about 15 years old. So now coming back into this as adults, a lot of times you go into a bunch of situations thinking that you're still dealing with the 15-year-old that you had, not realizing that you're dealing with the 30-year-old adult that you have now. So it took
That's a major relationship key, folks. You've heard me talk about this on the podcast before. You're with people for who they're going to become more often than who they are now.
So, we took the time to really kind of to learn each other and understand how to learn each other, because you're growing every day. So every day you're transforming, you're building, you're becoming something new. So putting together the proper tools to constantly learn each other and not feel off put if something is, if something isn't the way that we're used to it, just learning how to love the person for who they are. So
we're going to get into your lovely daughter in a second, but I wanted to start with your dad, Mr. Paul, because I watched this really cool interview that you did with Meth when you were doing promo for The Breaks, and he talked about your dad and your dad cutting his hair and all this other cool stuff. So talk to me about growing up in Staten Island with your dad, who's this seems like this neighborhood hero, you know?
Yeah. My dad, man, everybody knew my dad. That was one of the things that everybody knew P. Everybody knew Big P. He would from cutting hair. Some people knew him from barbering. Some people knew him in the music scene because he was a singer, and he was like always moving around with a bunch of musicians. Like Village Underground, when it was open, my dad was like a regular there. All of that. Um, some people knew my dad for his art. Like my dad was also an artist. He painted, he drew. He was also like very good with his hands. I never forget. He always tells me the story about how he was one of the guys picked to help build Paulie Castellano's house on Staten Island.
Wow.
So my dad was always the guy who kind of like did a little bit of everything. Everybody knew Paul for something. So no matter where I went in Staten Island, whether it was him or my grandmother, everybody knew P. Everybody knew P.
Word. So the shop, you're tell me about the barbershop, because you said something that used to, or Meth mentioned it used to be there, little kid with your head in the book while your dad was cutting hair. What was that like?
So my dad moved around to a few different shops. When we lived in Park Hill,
Mhm.
when I was first born, we lived in Park Hill, and there was a shop that was right on Tarji Street. And so that was the shop that everybody in Wu Tang went to. Like it was right in front of the PLO, like around the corner from the Everything Could Be So Simple mural. It
Mhm.
was like we were like dead smack on the strip. So every day I would be there with my dad watching him. People would come in. I remember every single member of the Wu-Tang coming in getting their haircut. RZA would come in, I'd play with his rings. He used to have these spiral rings on each hand, like these joints that look like spikes almost.
I've seen the
Um,
pictures. I think I've seen pictures
yeah.
of those. Yeah.
So I remember being a kid and playing with those, like, yo, this joint is crazy. Meth would always come in, Ray would always come in, get the quintessential half moon. My dad, like everybody just knew the guys in the barbershop. Everybody would always come to the barbershop. When we moved to Stapleton, my dad my dad moved the barbershop to Stapleton. He got his own barbershop. It was called Straight and Nappy. So that's where I first learned how to cut hair. That's where I was sweeping up hair. That's where everything happened at Straight and Nappy.
So you got skills with the clipper too?
I haven't done it in a while, but it's like riding a bike. Like once you pick it up, once you pick it back up, you can't. You don't forget that.
Okay. Okay. And so what was your dad's parenting style like? Was he kind of like laid back, or was he more of a disciplinarian? Was he like, what was he like?
My dad was the disciplinarian for sure, but
Mhm.
he was so I grew up in a household with two disciplinarians. My mom, of course, my mom would kind of like handle all of the how could I say more of the minuscule punishments. Like you get caught coming in before the joints went on, smack you in the back of the head, take you upstairs. It's very like my mom would do the minuscule stuff, but when you got
Right.
into big trouble, it was always
Mhm.
the I'm gonna tell your father,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you knew it was a problem. You
Yes.
knew that's you didn't want to wake him up. Like mom, can we figure this out? Maybe there's something we could talk about. Yeah.
People don't understand the power of that. People maybe call it good cop, bad cop, but it's like it works. It can be either parent, but you got to
Yeah.
have one that is more reserved because it means more. It's like
Yeah.
my quote I like to say, I say no because I want my yes to mean something.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with parenting. You got to have that one you can't both be rah, rah, rah. You got to have one
Exactly.
that you can hold in the holster like, you really want me to tell your mama? Or you really want me to go after you tell your daddy? So
Yeah.
I understand that. That's dope. So he's a singer. How supportive, or did he have any advice for you in terms of your aspirations for singing and acting?
Yeah, man. The funniest thing, he pushed my singing more than he pushed my acting.
Okay.
When it came to acting in the beginning, when it came to acting, he was he didn't know how it would work. He was very much like, listen, you're better off, finding a trade, like coming here, cutting hair, the whole nine.
Yep.
This acting thing, it doesn't really happen for a lot of kids. Music, you could do music any type of way. You can make music a bunch of different ways. Acting, it's like, how many actors do you really know? And I'm like, all right, well, but I really want to do this. Like I see some friends in my school doing it, and I really wanted to try it. So even against what he said, I wanted to do it. But when it came to music, oh my gosh, when it came to music, he was like always over the moon. It was always like gushing about me singing or me writing or me, doing anything when it came to music. Like he's the one who taught me how to play the congas. Like that was my first instrument. Playing the African drums. My grandmother every year would do this big Kwanzaa. Everybody knew her as the Kwanzaa lady, and it'd be me and my dad and my brothers. We'd be playing the drums in the corner. So that was my first instrument, the congas.
Yo, that's so dope, the Kwanzaa lady. Because I've asked people about Kwanzaa in previous interviews years ago, and it's like people done forgot Kwanzaa. But so it warms my heart to hear you say that your grandmother was the Kwanzaa lady. That's fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the whole
Listen, man,
outfits.
the illest thing about Kwanzaa, yeah, we had the outfits, everything, man. The kufis, the dashikis, everything.
Right.
I knew Kwanzaa was always going to be something kind of like integral to me, but I didn't know how, like, I didn't know if it would connect with anybody else. I remember realizing that Kwanzaa was always going to stay in my life when I think I was about 17, 18. I think I was just doing 90210. And at that time, my grandmother's not asking me to do Kwanzaas anymore. I'm on TV shows and stuff. Like I'll pop up and say, hey, but I don't got to play the drums anymore. But that was when me and Mike B, like me moving out to LA, we got really, really close. And I didn't know that he celebrated Kwanzaa. So every Kwanzaa, I had hit him up and it'd be like, yo, Hobaragani. And he'd hit me up with the day. And that's how me and him bonded, man.
That's fresh. That's fresh. So take me to now, the day you found out you were going to be a dad.
Oof.
What do you remember about that day?
What do I remember about that day? So me and Christina were just getting back, kind of getting back into the groove of things. And ironically enough, maybe a few months back, before the conversation, we had lost. She was pregnant before. We didn't know but we found out that she lost the baby. So we were kind of like, we were a little bummed about it, just because it was like, dang, man, like that's, it could have been. But she, I think I was out. I think I was with my boys or something like that. And she hit me. She said, hey, what you doing? I was like, nothing much, just chilling. What's going on? She was like, nothing. She's like, yo, I got this Bible plan. I want to read with you. I was like, oh, okay. Every now and then we would probably do like a Bible plan here and there. I was like, yeah, of course, babe. Send me a Bible plan. Let's read it. And the Bible plan she sent was how to be a great parent. I said, nah. She said, yeah. I said, hold on, y'all. I gotta give me a second. I'm gonna be right back. And I went outside, and it was just, that was the moment, man. That was the moment.
Oh my gosh, what was going through your head?
Everything. I was excited. I was scared. I was terrified. There was so many different things. Like, I was like, am I ready for it? Like, do I have what I need to be a parent? And then I'm like, well, whatever I have, I got to make sure I give to her. I'm like, dang, did I go through enough life yet? Like, do I have enough lessons to teach her? And it was a lot going through my head the entire time.
Mm. Where were you professionally? Like, what was going on? Were you recording? Were you auditioning? Were you in an actual project? Like, what was going on?
Right before when she told me that she was pregnant, I wasn't doing anything. I was still auditioning for stuff.
Right.
But the the blessing was literally as soon as she got pregnant, Swagger came around, and so booked that, and we've been doing that even through the quarantine. So yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah, I always ask that because becoming a dad can either will alter you professionally one way or the other.
200%.
So always wonder what was going on at that time. Sometimes folks are going through breaks. Sometimes they're in the midst of something, and then they gotta. I've had people tell me they're about to go on stage when they found out that they were going to be dads, and so where. So you, as you said, you got Swagger. So what was your mindset leading up to her birth? Like, did you have the birthing plan, or were you kind of just winging it? Like, what were you?
We had the plan. Like, we were going to New York Presbyterian all the time to figure out how we were going to do it, what we were going to do. And she had to get a C-section. The baby was born breech. I mean, the baby was breech. So and we kept on checking the entire time. So the doctor was like, listen, the way the baby is breech, either we could mess around and hurt the baby, like if we try to turn it, or we can do a C-section. And Christina said, let's do a C-section. So we had the plan, we had the idea of how we were going to do it. So when it came to work, it was more, it became a lot more focused. What I realized, especially now, it became so much more focused because instead of whatever time I would have maybe lollygagging or procrastinating or wanting to go out, hang out, do this, do that, now it was more so like, nah, I gotta be home. Like, no, I have to make sure my pregnant wife is good. I have to make sure that are you good? Did you eat? Now you can't stand on your feet too long. All right, what do you need? Like, I'm here. I know I'm preparing for this role, but understand that I'm still here. I still have to run around. I'm still doing my podcast. I'm still doing this, doing that, but I'm here. And I wanted to make sure that the majority of my time, or as much as my time I possibly could be right here with her.
Absolutely. And what do you remember about the day she was born? Because I've heard some wild stories about getting to the hospital and the birth. Or did you even do? Well, you said Presbyterian, so you did do a hospital.
Yeah, we did do the hospital. So the day of, so with the C-section, they give us the date.
Yeah.
So they gave us a date, told us to come through. And the thing that I remember about the day the most out of anything was that it snowed. It snowed like crazy that day. And then once we got to the hospital and we're in the hospital, we're sitting there, we're waiting. Her mom comes. Oh, snap. Okay, cool. Waiting. My mom comes. Okay, cool. Waiting. My sisters come. I'm like, oh, snap. Okay. Waiting. It just felt like we were waiting. It was really probably just like an hour, maybe 2 hours, but it felt like a lifetime. We were sitting there looking at each other like, yo, it's about to happen. This is crazy. And she's nervous, she doesn't know what she's about to go into. And I'm like, listen, I'm here with you the entire time. I will not let anything happen to you. I promise you. I'll elbow a nurse. Just let me we will be good. I promise you.
Yes.
And the one thing she said, she said, as soon as they take the baby out, go with the baby. She's like, I'm gonna be fine. As soon as they take the baby out, you follow the baby. I said, say no more.
Right.
So it was just nerves, man. It was a lot of nerves. Crazy thing was, she was nervous about the about getting the shot to numb her from the legs down because
The
she has
epidural.
scoliosis. Yeah, because she has scoliosis. So they told us that they didn't know how it would take or whatever, but it worked, thank God. When she's in there, you know, it just looks like they're just moving her around a lot, and she's like, Tristan, I don't feel anything. This is so crazy. And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The nurse is like, oh my God, she has such nice abs. This is so hard to cut through. I'm like, what is going on here?
Yo, I've never heard that. That's a first. Wow.
So finally, you know, they cut the baby. The baby comes out. We hear the baby crying. They cut the cord. They bring the baby over, and I'm rushing to the side with her. And as I'm watching them wipe Tristan off, clean her off, put the stuff in her eyes and all of that stuff. And Christina's still behind the gurney, and she's crying, and she's like, yo, what happened? How did she look? And I turn around, and I turned around the wrong way, you know. So the gurney is like cut in half. It cuts her in half. So in this half is her. On the other half is the operation. So just out of excitement, I turned the way of the surgery,
right,
and watched them put stuff back into her.
Oh,
and I'm like, I said,
yeah.
oh, this is real. Mind you, on the other side of that blanket that they put up, she looks perfectly fine. She's happy. She's excited. On the other side, it's a bloody murder. It's ridiculous.
C-sections are major surgery. Yes. My wife did too. And that's why we stopped after the second, because ours are 6 years apart. And from my son, the scarring from my son, they were, for the second one, they were like, you can't do this again. So they were like, she was like, after this one, y'all are done, right? So it was like, okay, yeah, so because the C-section is a lot. But people who, if you don't know, the C-section, and that's why they tell us stay on that side of the curtain. Don't go on the other side, because it's a lot.
Son,
you got the smelling salts. You okay?
I didn't listen. I thank God that I've seen some stuff in my life, but that was a whole nother. I said, baby, I just want you to know, I know you on a whole nother level now. Like I don't know you. I know you. Like it's a lot.
Right.
So yeah.
But the counter to that is then you have your baby.
Yeah, man.
That's because I remember I didn't look on the other side of the curtain, but I saw when they took him out, and they were like, they did the whole and I was like, my first thought is, oh my God, he stole your whole face. He looks just like my wife. I was like, I told her, like, Mel, he looks just like you, because she couldn't see anything. I was like, he just like you. Oh my God. So who does your daughter favor more, you or your wife?
It depends on the day, or it depends on her facial expression. So even her family says, yo, you and Tristan look so much alike. And I think it's just because we've been together for so long. But there are certain days that I look at her and I'm like, you look like your mother. And then there are other days that she's literally my twin, you know, like you could put both of my baby picture right next to her and she thinks it's her. So
their faces change over time. And I'll tell you that you'll probably really, once she hits puberty, a million years from now, I know you're not even thinking that. My baby, she's not going to go through puberty. What are you talking about? Yes, you will. My kids did the flip flop. Like, my son looked like my wife. Well, he still looks like her, but he's starting to look more like me, because he's starting to grow into his male, physique and facial hair and stuff like that. Like, okay, I see a father now. But my daughter, she was me from jump, and now that she's going through puberty, she's starting to favor my wife and something
like a mother. It's
crazy.
It's fun. Yeah, I'm about to say it's funny because everybody has always said that I look like more like my mom, but now that I'm a little older, I look smack like Paul. It's ridiculous.
Right. So you get her home.
Mm-hmm.
What's your ritual? Everybody has their ritual when they bring the baby home.
Man, I think me and Christina were just, it was the first time since we were kids that I it felt like we were kids. We were just the main thing to me was, okay, we got the baby, and we, it's winter now. It's winter, so like we got this big coat. We got her small self wrapped in this big coat, and then a blanket over her. She looks like a flower blooming out of it. Like it's hilarious. So
That's a beautiful description. I love that though. I love that.
So we get her home. Christina's just trying to like start moving around the house slowly but surely. And the biggest thing was, okay, get Christina into the bed, and then I'll bring the baby to her. So I push the baby in, literally, like get Christina laying down and comfortable. And our bed is a little high, so I had to kind of like help her into the bed, and then I put the baby right next to her. Like the first thing I wanted to do was make sure that she had some mommy time with her.
Oh man. So how did you guys work out the feeding schedule? That was a big thing for me because I was at the source. It was my first year at the source, and we had these really late closings for each issue. And I would get home later, and it would be my turn to like change him and feed him while she slept, before he woke up. So I had this thing where I would try to change him before he woke up, and then feed him, and not let him wake up while I was feeding him, and try to like put him back to sleep slowly but surely, but so he wouldn't wake up. It was crazy. How did you guys manage the sleep cycle? Was she a good sleeper?
So, she was okay. I'll say that she was okay. Once she got into a rhythm, which took about like a week or two, that first week was hell. And I, more so because what I've realized looking back now, as a parent, your schedule is her schedule. Like her schedule is your schedule now. When she sleeps is when you're supposed to sleep. Right. If you're up and moving around and thinking that you can live life how you want, cool, good story. Because at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, when she's up, it's a wrap for you, champ. Right. So I'm naturally, my entire life, I've always been kind of a later sleeper. Like I'm always been up, always the kid who like writes music at night. I'm scrolling through the internet at night. Like nighttime is my thing. Like I am a nighttime guy, which thus the album After Hours. Right. When we first got in the house, the biggest thing was, okay, Chris, you take the daytimes. At 6, I take her. So from 6 to 6 is me, and then 6 to 6 is you. So that's how we constantly switched off. It was tricky all the time. Sometimes we definitely needed help. There were a lot of times that during the day she needed help, or she wanted to get some extra sleep, or sometimes during the night where I had to go record, I had to do something, and it was like, okay, let's see if we can call your mom so she can come up, blah, blah, whatever. But the biggest thing was we tried to find that rhythm, and eventually we found it.
Right. So your parents, how did they react to this new life?
man, my mom is a forever mother. My mom has always been more than just our mother. She's a mother to everybody, right? Everybody in the neighborhood. My brother's friends would come upstairs with breakfast food every Friday. No, every Sunday. My brother's friends would come through, bunch of breakfast food. My mom would cook for everybody who came upstairs. Everybody would eat together. My mom was everybody's mom. Right. So when she seen that she had a new baby, oh my God, she still is over the moon. This is my baby. Oh my God. I can't wait. Every time she sees her on FaceTime, she's like, oh, I gotta come over and see her. I need to see my baby. It's a lot. My dad is so funny. because again, he was more of the strong, silent type, the as you said, the reserved disciplinarian, the guy who you would call for the weapons of mass destruction. Right. But seeing him with my daughter now is such a flip. He is the complete different guy. It doesn't even make sense. Voice, like he sees her on the FaceTime, his voice goes up an octave. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Oh my God. I'm like, where is this voice coming from? And because like I said, she looks like me and Christina. Like it's like a very, very good mix. My dad and her mom, they both say the same thing. Like, yeah, the baby looked like me. Yeah. That's look at my jeans. Look at my jeans. That's me right there.
So what kind of parenting advice have you gotten from your folks, if any?
Oh man.
Or did they say, go figure it out, boy?
Right. No, the biggest advice that I got from like parenting wise from my mom, it was listen to your wife. She's like, you don't understand how important that is, not only for parenting, but controlling and keeping a household. And from my dad just said, understand having a girl is different than having a boy. There's another level of tenderness that you have to, and like gentleness that you have to have with a girl. Of course, you have to be firm. You have to make sure that your no's mean no's and your yeses mean yes, but you always have to have a slightly softer touch. He said, with you and Tahir, my older brother, he's like, with you, Tahir and Ivory, I could throw you guys in the woods. You guys will raise yourself. But with Cody, Talia, and Nia, like there's always got to be a more gentle touch when it comes to raising them.
I agree. I'll agree with that. I have a boy and a girl, and my relationship, I love them both. My relationship with my daughter is just different. She's just her personality. She's cuddly. She can't walk by me without giving me a hug. She can't walk by me with like a good morning, daddy. I might go a whole day and not see my son. And, he'd be like, and when he does, he'll get a grunt on his way to the kitchen. You know what I'm
saying? Yeah, exactly.
Those girls are special. Girls are special. So your wife has written a book for her. Or wrote a children's book. What was the title? I wrote it down, but I'm not seeing it at the moment. Of the book. Was it four little black girls? Was it Dear Little Black Girl?
Right here. I found Dear Little Black Girl. Bam.
Yes. Talk to me about this book.
So Dear Little Black Girl actually started it was a project Christina started before Tristan was born. Maybe years before Tristan was born. She, growing up on the South Side of DC, one thing that you don't constantly have is a lot of affirmations, depending on your parents, of course, depending on how you grow up. She wanted to have a book for girls that grew up in the areas, or just areas like hers around the world, that they can look at and be empowered, or look at and read these affirmations and just feel like you can get up and do something. So the idea it was sparked years ago, started years ago, wrote the whole thing, just never got it published and everything. But once Tristan was born, it reignited the fire. And yeah, man, she's the one, man. This was amazing.
And you have a corresponding book club, Tristan's book club.
Yeah, man.
Correct.
Yeah.
What's tell me about that?
So Tristan's book club is something started by Christina and Tristan and me on the side, but more so something to, we kept thinking, if we want our daughter to influence anything, it's so easy for these children nowadays to become like baby influencers and all of that. But we kept on saying, if Tristan's going to influence anything, she has to influence something positive. And one thing that we've constantly seen, especially now, or that we would talk about often, was how literacy doesn't seem to have as strong of a position in what we deem as important anymore. So one of the things that we kept on saying was, why not start with the children? That's where it should start. And once Tristan came about, man, the idea just was like, yo, she needs a book club, like something that we can actually get books to girls that look like her, boys that look like her, like these kids that aren't necessarily reading books, these kids that learn life from looking on their iPads or on TV, like put a book in their hand, really reinstate what literacy actually means to us as a people. So
that's beautiful. And she likes books. She's I know she's only
oh
one.
my God. Oh my God,
Know.
man. Every day, literally every day, we'll come in here. She has like her little like bookshelf that's already damn near full. She'll come in here. I'll just say pick one, and she will go and grab her. She has like a few favorites that she constantly goes to, but she'll find new ones and just constantly. We'll just read, man. She really likes to just sit down, learn, and read. She's very, very inquisitive. So even like with the pictures on certain things, she'll tell you to stop so she can really kind of digest what the picture is. It doesn't even make sense how smart these kids are this age. It's crazy.
Oh, they're miles ahead of us. They're miles ahead of us. Like my kids at them at 7 and me at 7, it's no comparison. It's no comparison. Culturally, intellectually, and I think because they're just exposed to more too. Like my daughter's
yes, that's true.
Breath is way beyond where I was at her age because she has access to everything on Pandora and streaming or whatever. So where I was just limited to whatever tape I bought or whatever was on the radio, she's just got she has a much broader palette than I ever did. And I love it. I love them to feel like they have options, You had the first birthday.
Yeah, man.
What was the first birthday like?
It was nuts. It was, because of course it's in a pandemic. So you can only do so much. But it's her first birthday, and the missus wants to make it as big and as broad as possible,
of course,
within the confines of our house. So, I put down my my sheet that I do, one of the sheets that I use for auditions, and we just decorated like a bunch of we went to Michael's, got a bunch of like ivy and vines and moss and this, that, and the third. We got like balloons, everything, just it looks so beautiful. And we had a couple different cakes for her. We put everything down, we lay it out. It looks like some type of like forest, beautiful. And we try to put Tristan in it, and she doesn't want to take a picture. She does not want, fighting. Get me off of this. I don't want this cake. I don't want this moss. What are we doing here? Why do I have these boots on? Oh, she wasn't with anything. Nothing.
I'm laughing because it's so real. It's so real because a lot of times, let's be honest, a lot of times these parties are for us, not for the kids.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And they call us on it every time every chance they get. They're like, wait a minute, come on now. What is this? What this ain't for me. This is for y'all. I don't want no parts of this. In fact, it's making me think of another a picture that you posted of you and your wife, beautiful bouquet, and the baby standing there and she's crying her eyes.
Yeah,
was that the anniversary?
That's our wedding photo.
Yeah, your wedding photo. That's your wedding photo. Okay. So tell me about the story behind that photo and that day. Congratulations again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So again, me and Christina, we've known each other since we were kids. I've known that was the woman that I wanted to marry since I was a kid. So it was Christmas time, and we're going to go see all of the lights and everything. I think there was the spot in Richmond that you can kind of drive through, and they had like a bunch of light, like a whole light show. It was great. So we're driving through, we're looking at all the lights, it's beautiful. And for some reason, the conversation comes up about marriage. And I'm like, yo, you want to get married? She said, what? I was like, yo, do you want to get married? Like, what are we waiting for? She said, Tristan, stop playing. I was like, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've always wanted to do it. I've already talked to your parents about it. I've talked to my parents about it. This is something that I wanted to do, like, I guess what they consider the right way, but there really is no right way. So like, what's up? Do you want to do it? She said, okay, cool. If you're telling the truth, I'll believe you on Thursday. I said, cool, Thursday it is. Thursday came around. She's quiet. She's not even saying anything. So she leaves out of the room. When she comes back in the room, I'm getting dressed, and she's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm going to the courthouse. Are you coming or no? Went down to the courthouse. Got our marriage certificate there, and then in Virginia, we had to get a pastor to wed us and everything. So we went upstairs on our roof. I started a Zoom with all of our parents, and yeah, man, we got married.
That's beautiful.
The illest thing is, Tristan, still to this day, if I touch her mom, like if I try to like kiss on her mom too much, if Christina tries to kiss on me too much, anything, she'll start breaking down. So
she don't want no competition. She's like, y'all ain't gonna make no more.
None.
I'm gonna be
none.
I'm trying to be an only child over here. I want all this affection. So don't even try. He's plotting over there like Stewie Griffin.
Yo, early. It's crazy. It's crazy. Oh my goodness. So the pastor's like, you want me to take a picture? I was like, yeah, get this photo. I gave Christina her bouquet, and I was like, Tristan, come here. So I have Tristan next to my leg, and I dipped Christina to kiss her. And as soon as I dipped her, Tristan started flipping. And the pastor was like, I got a couple of photos, but I don't know if I was like, it's fine. She does this all the time.
It's real though. I loved it because it was just so raw and honest, and just, the beauty of it, the contrast, because kids just, they like that. Man. You just be blocking. Especially in a pandemic, you can't go nowhere. You can't send them to grandma's. I'm
exactly.
I'm venting right now. Forgive me. We were just able to send, after we all got vaccinated, we sent our kids to my mom's for the first time last week. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh my God, this house hasn't been empty in over 12 months.
Man.
So what's you've busy year, wedding and baby. So what's your takeaway? What's your biggest takeaway from this year for you? What's your lesson as a dad and husband from this year? What has it taught you?
Man, take your time. Don't be so fast to react. Learn what you need to be proactive. And just spot cues, just focus, pay attention. I think that's the biggest thing. Paying attention. We tend to be so kind of like caught up in the virtual world and our phones and this and that and what we're doing and what work we have to do, that a lot of times we miss out on the simple things. And it'll be those simple things that you need to learn from. So it's just pay attention, be proactive, and be slower to react.
I love it. Now, a lot of newer dads, they like to either play their music for their kids, or they want to get their kids involved. Have you done either?
I put instruments in front of her just to see what she likes.
Mm-hmm.
In my building here, there's like a fake baby grand piano, but I think she's watched me play on it a few times. So now every time she sees it, she'll sit down, start banging on it, trying to move her fingers as much as she can. I'm like, okay, cool. And then my guitar, she'll strum my guitar. She'll strum it. And when she hears a good note, she'll look at me and smile like, so I don't want to, force. Yeah, right. I don't want to force the music onto her. I don't want her to feel like, I remember when I was maybe like 11, I think I was 11. Mm-hmm. My dad put me into piano lessons and tried to drill it into my head. Like, this is what you have to do. This is what you have to do, to the point where I just didn't want to do it anymore. Mm. I want to figure out a way to make it, if this is what she wants to do, figure out a way to make it fun for her. If this is what she wants to do, figure out a way to push her towards it, that she doesn't feel obligated, that she wants to do it. So, yeah, man. My biggest thing is to put everything I possibly can in front of her, all types of instruments, all types of different things, whether she doesn't want to do music, if she wants to do gymnastics, if she wants to, whatever. I want to just push all of that stuff in front of her and just see what she grabs to.
So we talked about parenting styles earlier. Where do you see yours leaning toward? I know it's only been a year. Do you see yourself being more of the easygoing, or you see yourself being more of the disciplinarian, or you just kind of?
I'm definitely a fuse of the two. I'm more disciplinarian, but I definitely am easygoing. I'm definitely going to be my dad, where it's like, you don't want me to call your father, but I'm always going to be more cool, calm, and collected, to where she knows she could have fun with me, but when I say no, it means no.
That's the key. That's the discipline key that I've shared with people. Is if your kids care about what you think, care how you feel, if your opinion matters to them, disciplining them will be much easier. It's much easier to make them understand and appreciate your point of view than to tell them, no, you do it my way or the highway. If they respect how you feel, it's easier. I've had rough patches with my kids, trust me, but what usually brings them around is like, I really don't want to disappoint daddy or mommy. I don't want to make them mad. Like my wife, she's fiery. She's a Scorpio. You and I are Cancers. I was going to say, you and I have some.
My wife is a Leo. So trust me, I understand. I overstand.
And your proposal was similar to mine. It was funny because we were coming from a Star Wars movie. We joke about this to this day, and we were just driving along, and I just turned to her and said, "You want to get married?" And she was like, "What? Are you serious? On the midichlorians in your brain? Are you sure?" Like, what? Because this was 20 years ago. We celebrated our 20th anniversary last October.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. So when you said that, I was like, damn, that sounds familiar. Because it was wasn't premeditated, wasn't nothing. I didn't have a ring. It was like you. It was like, I thought about my future, and I was like, I don't see myself without her. So why don't we just
Let's just do this. Let's just do this. Yeah.
So I feel you, and I'm glad that worked out. And I'm so happy for you, brother. I'm seeing you flourish. And
thanks, man.
I said I have to talk to Tristan because he just seems so zen about the whole thing and finding out what new. And I love talking to new dads. It's just like, I mean, I talking to all the dads. I've had a ball, but then the new dads, there's this gleam in your eye, and everything's new, and there's all these possibilities, and I'm like, that's great. I love that energy, But then you got the old vets who are just like, hey, I'm glad I ain't got to wipe their ass no more.
Oh man.
Mine's about, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Mine are about to leave the house, so there's that dynamic. But that newness, oh man, you're in for such a ride. But just promise me you won't throw any cheese slices at her. Have you seen this trend on TikTok?
Yo, I have been seeing it. Oh my God, and I thought about it too. But I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. I can't bring myself to do it. Yo.
The kid, the one I saw, the kid looked like he was gonna suffocate because he couldn't get the cheese off his nose and he couldn't breathe. And I tweeted, said, y'all are terrorists, man. Like, how to get your baby to stop crying, throwing slices of cheese at their face. And then they stop crying, but they might stop everything, man.
Everything stops.
It might just stop. Period. So all you people out there, if you're considering throwing cheese at your child for clout, please don't.
Don't. Just don't, y'all. Don't.
Yo, Mack, I want to thank you so much for coming on, brother. This has been everything I thought it was going to be. And just give my best to your wife and to Kristen. Oh, Tristan. Because I had Christina and Tristan in my head. I said Kristen. Yeah. I mean, it seems obvious how you came up with Tristan, but how did you decide that particular spelling for Tristan?
Man. So the funny thing, we had a bunch of different names at first. We were trying to go through a million different names. We landed on, she was going to be Naomi Sinatra Wilds. That was going to be her name. Big fan of Frank Sinatra. That's my Naomi. That's her sister's middle name, and the initials is my little sister's initials, NSW. So it was we landed on Naomi Sinatra Wilds, and I just started thinking about it, thinking. And I was like, hey, I got an idea. She was like, what's the idea? Because I just had an idea too, and I want to hear yours. I said, okay, cool. What about Tristan? She's like, that's literally I was gonna call and ask you, how do you feel about Tristan? I said, yeah, I like it. She's like, okay, cool. Tristan. Her name is Tristan. I was like, that's simple. Like, there's no like debate. There's no like other names that we would have put it up against. She's like, nope, it's Tristan. She said, it's Tristan. She said, let's figure out how to spell it. So we went through a few different spellings, but there was something about seeing the Y at the end that made it it gave it the idea that I had. Sidney Poitier named his daughter Sydney, and to see he put the Y in her name as well instead of the I where he had it. It was like, okay, this is the ode to the big homie. Like, this is like he did the same thing with his daughter. Like, this is what I want to do for mine. So, Tristan.
Love it. Beautiful, man. Yo, big up Tristan and Christina. all love to the Wilds family. And we're looking, anything you want to plug while you're here?
Man, opening night, October 31st. Please, man, how we've been speaking about it, before we've even gone into rehearsals for Thoughts of a Colored Man, I promise you, you guys are in for a treat. This is going to be something that's not only unabashedly Black, this is going to be a really good look on the experience of the various Black men that you come in contact with every day. So please come see it. Please come see us. Yeah, man, I'll see you guys at the theater.
I'm all vaxxed up, so I'll be there.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Have a good day. Thank you. This has been Fathers Who Bother with Mack Wilds. Have a great day, brother.
Thank you, man.
All right. If you're enjoying Fathers Who Bother, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at Fathers Who Bother and Twitter at Fathers Who Be. Thanks.